Nintendo always tends to go big on announcements and live streams at E3, but this year seemed especially over the top. Now that we've had some more time to breathe, let's take this morning on Engadget today to run through some of the company's biggest news out of the show. First up, a sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is coming, and of course it is. I'm willing to go on record saying that Breath of the Wild is the best launch title for any console ever, and there's no way Nintendo wouldn't capitalize on that success. The teaser we got was almost painfully short, but it featured Link and Zelda poking around in a cave and discovering an evil mummy guy, so basically, I'm already sold. It'll be a while before we actually get to play it, which is why the announcement of the Link's Awakening remake is so helpful. On September 20th, we'll get the chance to relive Link's first great Game Boy adventure on Nintendo's new, insanely popular portable, and it looks like we'll get to make our own dungeons to boot. Luigi's Mansion 3 is shaping up to be surprisingly interesting too, thanks to the new puzzle possibilities that Luigi brings to the table. I will admit to not being particularly keen on this Mario spin-off series, but hey, I kind of hate Mario games altogether. This was never meant for me. With that said though, Nintendo seems to be doing a pretty good job keeping this series fresh. Oh, and we have a few more details about Pokemon Sword and Shield. We went hands-on with a demo build at E3, where among other things, we took a tiny electric corgi puppy and made him really big. You should definitely check out our hands-on video, but we're done. We're buying it. It's okay. Because the Switch is turning out to be such a great machine for ports, Nintendo had a lot to announce on that front. Witcher 3 Complete Edition will land this year on the Switch, as will versions of Resident Evil 5 and 6. The list goes on. I mean, Spyro the Dragon, Ni no Kuni, and more are getting the Switch port treatment. Unfortunately, not everything Nintendo had to share was good news. The company originally promised that Animal Crossing New Horizons would be available this year, but it's been sadly pushed back to March 2020. I am more crushed than I thought I would be, but some of Nintendo's definitively weird announcements are helping to take the edge off. The Switch is getting, for example, a remake of Panzer Dragoon, the on-rails fantasy shooter that was one of the best reasons to own a Sega Saturn, not that there were very many to start with. There's also going to be a Dark Crystal tactical RPG for the Switch this year, in case you needed, for some reason, to scratch a Muppet-focused strategy itch that Fire Emblem Three Houses just can't. Oh, and Banjo and Kazooie will make their debut as fighters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate alongside the nameless hero from Dragon Quest XI. For me at least, Nintendo's most surprising announcement has been a long time coming. Back in 1995, the company released a sequel to The Secret of Mana with a Japanese name that I will not try to pronounce for you now, on the Super Nintendo, or the Super Famicom, as it was known in Japan. It was as close to a graphical masterpiece as that hardware could produce, and years after a fan translation finally made it accessible to Western gamers, Nintendo was making this game officially available to Switch owners. Twice. The game, now known as Trials of Mana, is getting a cutesy graphical overhaul and will be released early next year. But if you cannot wait, Nintendo also released all 3 titles in the Mana series, including the confusingly named Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy as a $40 collection in the Switch's eShop. Nintendo's announcements might not have had Keanu Reeves calling some audience member breathtaking, but they ran the gamut from ambitious and beautiful to utterly niche. If you thought owning a Switch was already great, just give it a few months until more of these games get released. Then we'll talk. We'll see you tomorrow with more Engadget Today.